Hey guys, Uncommon Ramen here again with another episode of Gaming on the Go, where I take a look at solo play games. They come in very small boxes. Today we are going to take a look at a game called Friday, which is a solo deck building game. Very much piqued my interest when I first heard about it. You take on the role of Friday just after Robinson Crusoe crashed into his island, and now you are trying to teach him how to survive on the island and eventually get off the island so that you can go back to your peace and solitude. So let's take a look at what's inside the box. Again, you can see that very closely here that this box is actually very small. You can fit it in your travel luggage. I did all the time. This is probably, besides Onirim, the game that I played the most when I was traveling, just simply because not only is it incredibly challenging, but it was just a lot of fun. So take a look inside the box. We got ourselves the preparation sheet, which basically just tells you how to set up the game. It's just a 2-page sheet here showing you all the different things to set up, with a little thing to keep track of your victory points. I obviously don't write on it unless I laminate it, so there you go. The rule book here, I will go over how this works, because the rule book itself is actually kind of confusing. I'm not particularly sure that the translation here was very good, but it was enough. I got the gist of it. Then we're going to have 3 player boards. Each player board represents different things that are happening throughout the game. This particular player board is going to be the storage board for your aging cards, because throughout the time that you are on this island, you will slowly but surely age. And that usually, no, I shouldn't say usually, that is always a bad thing. This board is the storage board for your deck. And this is actually just going to be Robinson's abilities. When he gets on the island, like I said, you're teaching him to be a better survivalist. He gets on the island as kind of not so good. He's actually just downright stupid. As you can see here, it indicates that something to do with the aging. Essentially what it's saying is that once you have run out of cards in your deck and you have to shuffle your deck, you have to shuffle in 1 aging card. And like I said, the aging cards are always bad. So every time you run out of cards, you're going to shuffle in 1 aging card. So I would hope that while you're building your deck, you definitely build it with the knowledge of knowing that you have to somehow get rid of those aging cards, which I will go into as well. And then the final board here is where you're going to put your encounters, or the exploration deck, or whatever it is that they end up calling it in this game. The red, green, and yellow are indicative of the level of difficulty you are at that particular point, starting with green all the way down to red. At first, when you start exploring the island, you are just going to simply have a whole bunch of easy encounters that help you thin your deck, but not only that, help you get useful cards into your deck. But as you continue to go through the game, it will get more difficult and more difficult. Once you have once you have gone through the event deck 3 times, hopefully you've made a deck that is so good that you can face the 2 pirates that are the prerequisite to you leaving the island. We'll get into the pirate encounter afterward, but what you have to know is that you're gonna need a lot of cards to, or at least a lot of powerful cards to survive that encounter. Should you not be able to defeat both the pirates, it is assumed Robinson is dead. So anyway, let's take a look at the cards. So, first things first, we are going to look at how Robinson starts the game. This is the beginning deck that they give you. As you can see, the modifier up here, this is how much power the card has. This is the name of the card. This little indicator here is how many life points you have to use to destroy it. Like I said, I'll get into it. There's a little text box here with some periods here. That is just a an ability text box should the card have an ability. In this case, it does not. Then we have Genius. You'll see he's got a 2, right? So that makes him pretty smart, except that that's the highest modifier in the deck. The rest of these are 0s and 1s, the majority of which being 0s. And then you have 5 -1s, because he's distractible. So, yeah, he's not exactly the best when he first lands on this island. He does, however, know how to eat. This is important, so you can get your +2 life. It's a very basic deck. This is the deck you're going to start out with when you are first encountering the island itself. So on the island cards, you're going to notice they have 2 sides. The top side is going to be the encounter. In this case, it's the cannibals. You're going to notice this little 5 over here on the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side, the red number, the yellow number, and the green number. These numbers are what you will have to match or beat depending on the level you are at the time. And like I said, when you first start the game, you start at green, so you have to get a 5 or better. Then once you level up to yellow, you'll have to get a 9 or better, and then a 14 or better. But it's all based off this number right here in the left-hand corner, which basically says that when this card is encountered, you get 5 free cards that you will set up to the left of the card, and then from there you will choose how you are going to continue the encounter, whether you have beat the encounter or not, or whether you need to continue to get cards to beat the encounter, all of which I will show you momentarily. Should you be able to defeat the encounter, you will add it to your discard pile with the Crusoe or the Robinson side face up, and it functions exactly the same as any of the other Robinson cards, where you have the modifier, the name, the amount of life you'd have to use to destroy it, and the text box. There are quite a few of these cards, tons and tons of them, bunches of ways to tech yourself up or to just modify your attack. So you're going to want to be very, very aware of what these cards are, and since when you encounter it you're going to know which cards you're encountering, you can kind of tailor your experience based on that idea. So these cards, of course, will be placed on this board face down once shuffled. You'll receive 3 cards to indicate which level you are at the moment, starting with green, then going into yellow, and then red. Those are just going to be set somewhere within your viewing range, just so you know that right now we are sitting at the green level. This level goes up every time you deplete this deck. So once you've gone through this deck one time, it'll go up to yellow and you'll start facing the medium difficulty. And then once you go through it a third time, you'll go up to red, or I'm sorry, a second time you'll go up to red and you'll face the highest difficulty. And then once you've depleted the deck after that, the final encounter with the pirates will happen. So these are the pirate cards. There's a bunch of them. Oops, that's not a pirate card. There's a bunch of them. The only disappointment I have with this is that they don't have names. They are just a number right here, the amount of power the particular card has, and the ability down here at the bottom. And each of the ships looks somewhat different, so I mean, I guess that's an indicator of what they are. But anyway, this number functions the same as the number on any of the other encounters, where this is how many free cards you will receive to help you defeat this pirate, and then anything else that you use will cost you a life point to get, which again I will show you momentarily. So there are quite a few of these. You're going to shuffle up the deck and then you're going to grab 2 random cards, and those are the 2 pirates that you are trying to defeat. You're going to set those somewhere within view, doesn't matter. And then you're going to grab this horrible deck of horribleness. And this horrible deck of horribleness is the aging cards. There are 2 types of aging cards. You have your, I guess, normal aging cards, which are just really awful cards. I mean, there's nothing about this deck that is good. We have our highest card equals 0, which basically means that he's going to blank one of your cards. We have the -2 because he's just plain stupid. We have the -1 life, which is just no good. We have a Distracted, once again, just in case you already got rid of all your Distracted, here, have another one. And then we have just Very Tired, where you just stop. You don't get to go any further, and that could potentially kill you. But then it gets worse, because then we have the super horrible, like, major aging cards, and it goes, he's not just stupid, he's moronic, -4. He is suicidal, -5. He is very hungry, -2 life. These things are horrible cards. You're going to shuffle them separately. So you're going to take your 3 major aging cards, you're going to shuffle those and put them on the bottom. Then you're going to take all of your regular aging cards, I guess, shuffle those, and then throw them on top and put them on your storage board for aging cards. And like I said, every time you have to reshuffle Robinson's ability deck, you are going to take one of those aging cards face down without looking at it, shuffle it into the deck, and hope to everything that you don't draw at a really inopportune time. That's one of the ways they make this game really difficult. So, once you have that set up and everything, you move into actually playing the game. So, the first thing you're going to do is reveal the top 2 cards of the encounter deck. You get to choose which of those cards you want to encounter. Right here we have Further Exploring the Island, which gives us 3 free cards to throw at it with a 2 modifier to beat it, and if you do get it, you'll get a 2 modifier 1 times exchange, which basically lets you exchange one of the cards that is already face up to help you to help you beat an encounter and replace it with something else. On the other hand, we have With the Raft to the Wreck, which gives you 1 free card, doesn't require you to have any modifier, just a 0. To beat it, and you'll receive a 0 modifier equipment that basically gives you 2 free cards when it's placed face up. I'm going to go ahead and encounter the With the Raft, because that +2 cards early game is really good. Not to mention that while this one does have a better ability, in those 3 free cards that I'm going to get, I'm probably going to get at least 1 -1 and probably a whole bunch of 0s as well. So I have to make a 2 somehow. I'm not really sure that that's going to happen, considering there's only 1 2 in there, and the rest of the only other thing I can hope for is 1s. So to explain how the free card works, you're simply going to take the top card of the Robinson's ability deck, you're going to flip it face up to the left of the encounter, and now that is the free card that you're given to help modify this card. As we can see, it's a -1. That's not good, because you need a 0 or better to beat this, which means that unfortunately I found the one way to lose this encounter, at least in the early game. So at this point, we should talk about the life tokens, which I guess I forgot. You're going to receive these fun little alligators. I don't know why they chose alligators for life tokens, but these are a representation of your life. I think they're alligators. Pretty sure they're alligators. You get 20 of them. They give you 22, so you're going to put the 20 in a pile, and then you're just going to set the 2 aside. You can gain those later on. So basically, originally I had told you that there's a little symbol right here that's how many alligators or how many life points you're going to have to get rid of to destroy this card. Well, I've lost the encounter, and when you lose an encounter, that's the only point in time where you can destroy cards. You're already losing life at that point. You're losing life equal to the difference of the encounter versus the attack power that you have. In this particular case, it's 1. -1 plus 0 is 1. Well, it's -1. So I'm going to lose 1 health. So I'm going to lose my 1 health, and because I lost 1 health, I can now choose to destroy 1 card, which is going to be my Distracted card. I'm going to set that aside. It will not get placed back in the deck. It is completely gone. Now I don't have to worry about 1 -1 card. There are still 4 more floating around in the deck, but at least now we are 1 less. Then, once that happens, if you lost the encounter, you're simply going to discard the encounter, and you're going to start again from phase 1 of looking at the top 2 cards, deciding which one you want to encounter, which in this case I'm going to go again with the raft, and again this one is the equipment raft, so I get +2 cards if I get this, and then I get a free card to look at. Look at that, another distracted. I want to point out, I did not manufacture this. I did not stack the deck. This is exactly how it was after I shuffled it, so this is kind of astonishing to me. I was hoping to get that card. So either way, this is another situation where I'm going to lose 1 health, destroy the card, that is 1 more -1 out of the deck, and then we lose the card. So let me explain what happens. Actually, let's just keep going for a minute. Okay, so this time I'm going to actually pick the Exploring the Island card instead of the With the Raft. And the reason is because the Exploring the Island card gives me 2 free cards. So I'm going to flip the top 2 cards, which is going to be a Weak and a Distracted. Go figure. Go figure, another -1. So now I have a choice. I can choose to end the encounter right now. I will lose 2 life. So ditch 2 of my little alligators. At that point, I get to destroy 2 cards, so I'd be able to destroy both the Weak and the Distracted. Or, because it only takes 1, in this case now, because I have the -1, it's going to take me 2 to win the encounter, I could choose to spend 1 of my little alligators, 1 of my health, to draw 1 more card off the top of my Robinson Crusoe deck and place it to the right of the cards. So these are extra cards that I'm drawing. I'm spending life to get these cards to help me modify this encounter to the point where I can win it. So I draw a 0 and I realize that's not going to help me, so I can choose to continue doing so until I have no life. So I ditch yet another alligator and I draw another distracted. So now I'm at a -3. So now I'm going to lose 3 life and I get to destroy 3 cards. At this point, I'm going to decide, okay, you know what? I'm good. I don't need the card that badly. This is going to give me an opportunity to ditch 3 cards out of my deck that are bad. But as opposed to previously where I was going to lose 2 life and ditch 2 cards, I actually ended up losing 5 life because I spent 2 life getting these guys, and then I have to lose 3 life because of the modifier, and then I get to ditch 3 cards. So it was either 2 life for 2 cards, or in this case 5 life for 3 cards. It wasn't a good wash. That was really bad. In a normal game I would never have done that. I would have just taken the 2 life and 2 card loss there, and I lose the card. Let's say, however, for sake of argument, that I win an encounter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the card to its Robinson side, and I'm just going to simply add it to my discard pile to be shuffled into my deck later. As I mentioned several times, once you run out of cards in this Robinson ability deck, you're going to take 1 card from the aging pile, face down, shuffle it into your current deck, and then start over. You're going to do this until you've hit the red and the bottom of this deck. Once you're at the red encounters and you've gotten to the last card of this deck, you're going to move on to fighting the 2 pirates. So here's where it gets difficult with the pirates. You get to choose which pirate you're going to encounter first. Once you've chosen the pirate, you're going to draw the free cards that allow you, which is 7 for this guy, and then continue to draw cards using your life until you've defeated this pirate, set the pirate aside, and then face the second pirate without shuffling your current discards into your deck. Which means that you better have a deck that is good enough to go through 1 time to destroy 2 pirates. If you can somehow do that, you win the game. I played a couple of refresher games of this before I decided to film this, and I lost miserably. I did get to Code Yellow, I guess, second stage of horribleness, and I got pretty far into both the games on the yellow stage, but I could not. I ended up dying both times, just simply because of unopportune aging cards popping up. I managed in both games to get both the stupidities or stupids very early in the game. I got one of the scareds very early in the game that made it just really difficult for me to proceed through the game without dying, essentially. And how do you die? Once you run out of life, it's obvious. When you run out of these little alligator tokens, the minute you don't have any alligator tokens, you are dead. So, that's Friday. It's a pretty simple game to play. It's a very difficult game to master. So, my thoughts on Friday. This game was an incredibly fun game. It was insanely challenging. Like I said, besides Onirim, it was one of my most played games while I was traveling. It was in such a small box that it was almost guaranteed when I was packing to go on these work trips that I was doing. I was guaranteed to put it in my bag. And when I go on these trips, I always made sure to bring, just what I needed and nothing more. So this was, having such a small box was nice because it left room in my bag for everything else that I needed. I have a gripe about the size of the cards. It's not any standard card that I've ever dealt with, and so I'm sure now that board gaming has become a little bit more mainstream. There are probably more readily available sleeves for this, but when I had first picked this game up, the sleeves, it wasn't easy to find sleeves for this game. The game itself has also become a little bit easier to find than when I first went looking for the game. It is a game by Rio Grande Games, and I'm not even positive that Rio Grande Games is still... I think it might still be a company, but I'm not positive. If it is a company, it's actually under an umbrella. In fact, I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it's owned by Asmodee Games. But now, when I go to hobby shops and game shops, I see it available on shelves a lot more than I had originally seen it. And this particular copy I actually found on Amazon for... I'm pretty much close to retail price or less. I'm not exactly sure how much it costs these days, but it was just a really fun, rewarding experience. It definitely gave you that idea of survival, but more importantly, it made you feel like you were going from this not so smart, not so great at survival character to a seasoned not necessarily warrior, but definitely a seasoned veteran of survival on this island. And when you finally get to the point where you are attacking the pirates, if you can manage to kill both the pirates in the one go, it's actually pretty rewarding. There are some pretty difficult pirates in there. I know that there's one in there, I think, that has a power of 29 or 25 or something like that, and so you have to in one turn manage to get 25. And granted, it gives you, I think, 7 free cards to pick from the very beginning, so you don't have to actually spend life points until after you've drawn those 7 cards. It's still a huge number to get over, not to mention that there are huge amounts of tech cards in there where it doesn't have a whole lot of power on the card, but the card has things like exchanging other cards or putting cards from the that are face up in play on the bottom of your deck, or other things like that, which don't necessarily add a whole lot of power to how much you're dealing to the pirates or actually any of the encounters, but help you to bring out some of those bigger cards. And I also think that the highest value card on the attack side, at least in the positives, is only a 4. So you have to understand that if you get all your super high value cards really early, and then you manage to defeat the first pirate, you still have to have all the cards necessary to defeat the second pirate, but you don't get to reshuffle unless you somehow manage to get through your entire deck. And even then, that's dangerous, because if you have to reshuffle in the middle of that encounter, you're going to get another aging card that could potentially ruin you. And especially if you get scared that late in the game, it's going to blank the value of your highest value card. That could be a game changer right there. So definitely, this was super worth it. It was at first, I try to tell myself not to judge a book by its cover. And when you look at this cover, it's kind of like, oh, this looks kind of stupid. The art was interesting. I won't say it's bad. It wasn't appealing. And when somebody had recommended this on Board Game Geeks as a solo play game that I should get into, at first I looked at it and I was like, I don't know about that. It looks kind of stupid. But then when I actually picked it up and I learned it and I played it, like I said, I couldn't put it down. I kept playing it. When I was off of work, I was in the hotel room playing this game because it was that much fun. Not to mention that if you think that you've gotten to a point where the game is too easy, it has difficulty levels. You can increase the difficulty. So just all in general, it was a really good purchase and a exciting game to play. I was not disappointed. And as you can see, like I said, it's in a really small box. Like you can't. I mean, there's no excuse not to have it as part of a collection, just for space reasons. Not to mention, taking it on an airplane is not even an issue. Like you can hide it in between your clothes. You don't have to hide it, but what I'm saying is that you can put it. You can pretty much stash it in your carry-on and not worry about it getting damaged or anything like that. So definitely recommend Friday. If you are looking for a solo game, I know that there are a lot of games out there that you can play solo, and some of them come in gigantic boxes. This is a fantastic example of a solo game, and it's the only example that I know of so far of a solo game that was meant to be a solo deck builder and not a deck builder that was given a solo variant set of rules. So definitely check it out. It is a deck builder. It is so much fun. It is definitely challenging. Like I have mentioned in previous videos, for a solo game to be valid as a game, it has to be challenging. It has to be to the point where you're almost not winning pretty much all of your games. This definitely delivers on that. So yeah. If you liked the video, go ahead and like and subscribe. Please leave any comments, questions down below. I love to hear from you guys. I'd love to answer any questions. Maybe I left something out. Maybe I misexplained one of the rules. Let me know. And until next time, guys, peace.